The San Jose Sharks have the best prospect pool in the NHL, but how do we actually rank them?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do, just follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. And today, we're re-ranking the Sharks' top prospects. Now that we're done with the 2025 draft, we've dug into some of the Sharks' new guys who are coming in, and we're going to re-rank them. So we did this exercise kind of before the draft. We have some new names and faces to add, some tweaks to the rankings as well. So that's what we're going to do today as we look at the 5 honorable mentions, and then we'll rank the Sharks' top 10. And spoiler, there's probably a new guy at number 1. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So, like I said, we did this exercise before the draft, kind of ranking them. We've had some changes as a guy like Daniel Kushin, who was part of the honorable mentions group, no longer, of course, with the organization. We have new players entering the fray as well. So I thought it'd be a good time to kind of go through now and see where this prospect pool ranks and stacks up, and try to, again, put together how I rank these players. And right, we're kind of seeing everybody doing their prospect rankings and deep dives into it. I know Tony Ferrari did his. I think Steven Ellis has his Sharks prospect pool article coming out here soon. I will have an accompanying article kind of that dives into each player a little bit more on the Reef, my kind of website where I mostly write about the Sharks. But so if you can check my social, you'll be able to find it there, where it'll actually have like clips and more fun stuff on there than what we're going to discuss today. So let's start by looking at the honorable mentions. So 5 guys who are, I think, worthy of being talked about, but just don't quite crack the top 10. And my biggest kind of takeaway from this is it's a very champagne problem of the Sharks they just got too many good dudes coming up. And I feel bad for leaving players off. Ethan Cardwell is a player, for example, who I think the world of Ethan Cardwell. I think he's going to be a really solid professional player. Doesn't crack my top 15. Matthias Havlet, another guy, just doesn't crack my top 15. Also, before I get into it really quickly, the rules, because we have to have rules. 50 NHL games or less. So Celebrini, Will Smith, guys like that, not part of this exercise, because I figure by 50 NHL games, you've basically kind of secured your spot as an NHL player, or we kind of know what you are by then, or where the direction that you're heading by then. So 50 NHL games or less is kind of the big rule for me, is where to kind of put the line. So some guys that we'll talk about today will definitely not be on this list by this time next year, because we'll have expected them to graduate into the NHL. But still, we wanted to talk about that, how great this prospect pool is. But so let's start without further ado. My top, we'll go 11 through 15 here. So Leo Saleh Wallenius at number 15, the defenseman playing over in Sweden this year. Haoxi Wang, the defenseman, of course, playing with Oshawa Generals, who was part of the 2025 draft. I know Wang, out of all these names here, well, I guess I'll just go through. Philip Beested at number 13, Eric Pohlkamp at number 12, and Cam Lund at number 11. Wang is, I think with him, right, it's very much the upside is there. We've mentioned a bajillion times, right? He's such a raw prospect. But I think by this time next year, we're going to have a much better sense of what we think Wang is going to work his way out to be as he goes back to Oshawa for another season to play in the OHL before heading off to Boston University. And he's one of those players who's going to, I think, benefit greatly from the new changes in the NCAA CHL agreement, where he can play a much faster paced game in the OHL. And I think for him working at that and then kind of getting used to that speed before going to the NCAA, where it's more kind of skill, it's more detail oriented and it's more about systems and structures. And I think it's gonna be a perfect blend for him, getting a taste of both games right before he makes his professional debut. A guy like that I have at number 13 there, Phil Beestead, who, it's not like Beestead's done anything wrong, but they're just other guys that you kind of want to put ahead of him, right? And he had a really great playoff run for the Barracuda, but kind of an up and down season. And I think this year will be a big year for Beestead, as he's going to be kind of the default 1C for the Barracuda with all the people that they've lost. Looking at, kind of what I expect from, I do expect this, like I said, I do expect kind of a make or break season for Beestead, where I kind of think if he doesn't really start to crack the NHL by this year, it might be time to kind of start looking elsewhere. But I do think for Beestead, he has the opportunity in front of him to really take a big jump this year with his play style. And again, with the opportunity, right? And with Podorowski gone, that leaves a huge spot as the 1C with the Barracuda. And I think he's got kind of the opportunity to grab that role. And there's a bunch of new wingers coming in, guys that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. But you expect Cam Lund and Chernyshov and Musty and Halttunen, all four of those guys, to at least start this season in the AHL. And yes, they're going to have some rookie moments here and there, but all those guys are highly touted players who are highly drafted either in the first or second round and are expected to be massive pieces of what San Jose is building forward. So I think there's going to be enough talent around Beestead, but can Beestead put it together this year? So that's kind of a big thing for him. Eric Pohlkamp is a guy I continually want to try to move up in the rankings, and I'm just kind of torn because I think he's going to have a massive year for Denver. He's going to the University of Denver. He's going to have kind of the keys to the car this year at least on the blue line for Denver. And I think he's going to be one of the nation's best defensemen on what's probably going to be a really good Denver team this year. And don't be surprised when he's playing in the NHL come April, because he finishes up a great season at Denver, signs his ELC, and then he's playing games for the Sharks next year, especially what's probably going to be a lost season for San Jose as well. Like I said, don't be surprised when he's doing that because of his again, he's not the tallest guy, right? He's 5'10", 5'11", somewhere around there, but he's a thick frame. He can hit, he can play off. He's a prototypical, other than his height, he's a prototypical two-way defenseman. And I think I'm too much of a coward to raise him higher. But yes, I think very highly of Eric Pohlkamp and what his direction is heading in. Very excited to see him, what he does when he turns pro, and kind of how they handle him, because he could be with all the openings in the Sharks blue line next season, he could be a guy who sneaks into the opening night roster for the 26-27 season. I know we're 1,000% ahead of ourselves, but still. And then finally, Cam Lund is a player who we did get to see playing on the Sharks last year, and you saw some of that scoring touch with him. Like I've said before, and I'll continue to say it, I think he's on the Colin Graf path to success, where I think spending some time in the AHL to round out his game, not going to be the worst thing for him, right? And he's probably going to play big minutes in the AHL to start, and then once they kind of feel like his game is a little bit more rounded out and ready to go, they'll bring him up. And I kind of see him splitting his time between the Barracuda and the Sharks next year, just like we saw with Colin Graf. And I think Graf's a more versatile player, which is why he's spoiler ranked higher than Cam Lund. But I do think Cam Lund is a better offensive player than Colin Graf. And I think he's a guy who can get you some goals here as he continues his growth and development. So we're going to start digging into the top 10 here. We'll do 10, 11, or 10, 9, 8, 7. We'll do 6, and then we'll do 5 through 1 in the final segment. So, yeah, we'll get into number 10 here in just 1 second. Talk about some of these OHL guys starting to kind of make their way into the organization. So we get to that here in just 1 second. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Or we are back. Preseason football, kids. It's back. And if you're already following the action, why not make it a little bit more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Again, preseason football, it's back. If you're already a degenerate watching it, why not try to make some money as well? I always take the unders because coaches do weird things, right? They're not kicking extra points. They're trying to go for 2 points, and you see such a wide array of players. Just take the under. I know it's not as fun, but you'll probably win more money that way. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, before we continue, do of course want to thank you for making it Locked On Sharks your first listen. Make sure you're following along. We have some great interviews coming up, probably over the next 2 to 3 weeks here. We have a great one already in the can, ready for later on this week, with someone you've seen on your TV a lot as a Sharks fan. So that's all I'm going to say. So make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts, and of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right. Next on the list, one, Casper Halttunen. So Halttunen last year played with the London Knights, had a pretty quiet-ish regular season with London, right? As he started the season in the AHL, went back to London. But as we continually see from Casper Halttunen, when the lights get the brightest in the postseason, Halttunen comes out to play, was an absolute monster during the playoffs, as he always tends to be. He won the MVP, the playoff MVP in the OHL, had 15 goals in 17 games during the OHL playoffs. And then he also had 4 points in 5 Memorial Cup games as London finally did the thing and won the Memorial Cup. Halttunen this year going to be playing on the Barracuda, and like he's a guy where maybe his you kind of feel like you know what his role is, right? And maybe the upside isn't as high as maybe like a guy like Cam Lund, who I think could be a top 6 winger if everything works out for him. But I think with Halttunen, like you know exactly what he's going to be, and they're not the same player, all right? Listen hard when I say they're not the same player, but that Kevin LeBanc type of role, right? Where you're going to play on the third line. You're going to be a major asset on the power play. And I think Halttunen, of course, is a way more physical player, what we've seen in his juniors. And I think that will translate, especially as he's a bigger body player. He does have stuff he needs to work on, right? The defensive zone and especially that first step and getting more power in that first step in his stride. But I think Halttunen is a very high-end complementary player. And that shot is pretty special. It's a very special shot. And I think that's kind of what his role is going to be. And I kind of expect that to be his role in the Barracuda this year, is to play kind of third line minutes and be like have the power play run through him with the Barracuda. And just score 6 goals. That's what I expect from Casper Halttunen this year. So another Barracuda guy who's near and dear to our, not the biggest guy, but the biggest guy in our hearts, and that is Luca Canyone. Canyone had an amazing season in the AHL this year as a 19-year-old to start the season, 20-year-old, turned 20 in December, 64 games. He has 16 goals, 36 assists with 115 shots on goal, was third among all defensemen in the AHL when it came to scoring. Not just rookie defensemen, all defensemen. Two former Sharks guys leading the way. Derek Pouliot was second, and then Jacob McDonald was first in the AHL. But anyway, Canyone is right. There's always gonna be questions about him with his size at 5'9", but I continue to believe like small defensemen like this, they're either when they make it to the NHL, they're either amazing or they just don't make it at all. I tend to believe that he's going to be the amazing part of it because the kid knows how to defend. He uses his size, lack of size to his advantage in getting under opponents and kind of taking away the puck. He's probably going to spend more time. And I think more is going to be asked of him this year in the AHL. So maybe the production goes down a tad bit, but I think he's going to come out as a more well-rounded player this year, going back to the AHL. And I think he gets another good look in the NHL as well this year. So coming up at number 8, look at this Colin Graf. Of course, he was undrafted, signed with the Sharks during the 23-24 season. Last year, split his time between the Barracuda and the Sharks. But the Sharks, he had 33 games, scored 5 goals, 8 assists with 40 shots on goal, playing just under 16 minutes a night. Pretty solid. Like Corsi numbers and goals aren't too bad for him in that department. But I think Colin Graf's versatility and what he can do is what makes him such an attractive player for San Jose, because if you need him to play third line minutes and play on the penalty kill, he showed that he can do that. If you need him to go play in the top 6, he can easily do that as well and be a really great complementary player. He can play in all situations, right? As a guy who never played penalty kill before he got to San Jose, quickly became very good at it to the point where he was playing penalty kill for the San Jose Sharks last year. Granted, the Sharks penalty kill wasn't that great, but you can see how well he does with it. He had a shorthanded goal last year, of course, against the Maple Leafs. Like, you can see him really growing into that role, especially with a lot of the Sharks kind of losing some of their top PKers from last season. I think Colin Graf is well on his way to kind of just being that glue guy every team needs, where if you need him to do something, he's going to raise his hand, he's going to do it, he's going to be happy to do it, and he's going to make the team better because of his efforts. And he's just kind of good at everything he tries to do. So, like Colin Graf, like he's going to be one of those guys I think sticks around the NHL for a very long time because of all the different skill sets that he has. And again, getting an undrafted guy who was, I think 5'9" during his draft year, and of course grew to the size he is today. Like, that's found money, and you're going to take that every time. So next on the list at number 7, newcomer Joshua Ravensbergen. So the goalie, 6'5", right, 192 pounds, playing with Prince George last year, 51 games during the regular season. 901 save percentage, 3.00 goals against last year, 33 wins also with them. Like, he played 58 out of a possible 75 games, including the playoffs for Prince George last year. That's an insane workload. I think with him, he was on a team that lost their top scorer from the year before, and their other top scorer, Riley Heidt, kind of took a little bit of a step back. And he was asked to do a lot more to kind of keep this team in contention. So, yes, somewhat like the save percentage numbers and goals against, like, not the prettiest, but you have to keep in mind, especially with goalies, context of where they're playing and how they're playing. So, you saw it was a very young defense with Prince George, and he was asked to bail them out a lot last year. That was kind of one of the big things from my takeaway from watching his viewings is how often, 2-on-1s, breakaways, stuff like that he's kind of dealing with. So he'll fit right in when he comes to San Jose. But guy, right, we know it's going to be a bit of a long path for him, but I still think you have a really high-end potential goalie here where, right, he can be a nice piece in either the tandem, where if it's Askarov and Ravensbergen, like, you're going to feel really great about whoever you throw out on a given night in net, and if both those guys are here. So, he's one of those players where I think we're going to be feeling pretty good about the pick here in a couple years. So, Last guy, number 6 here before we get to take a break. A guy who's not going to be on the list next year, and that's Muka Madan. Muka Madan played 30 games with the Sharks this year. Had 2 goals, 7 assists with 30 shots on goal, playing 18.04 a night. Corsi 48.01, which is really, really nice for a defenseman on the Sharks. Goals for about 40%, which is not so nice when he was on the ice. But I think Muka Madan was a player who was trending up before his injury, and a player who I have a lot of faith in this year to kind of take that big step for the Sharks as they continue to try to figure out their defense. And I think Muka Madan, I think he's a lock to make the team opening night, unless he gets injured again or is still kind of coming back from his injury. And 2, I think by the end of the year, he's going to be looked at as one of the better Sharks defensemen. I think very highly of him. I think they've been very patient with Muka Madan in his development. And I think this year you're going to see that start to pay dividends for San Jose, and a guy who's looking to kind of get that big contract. And I think maybe not big contract, but I think kind of get a little bit of security for himself, who's been on, an ELC or these $1 billion deals. I think Muka Madan, you could be kind of penciling in that wire for our money for Muka Madan here. So he's one of the guys I'm really excited to see his season and how he continues his development. So we're going to get to the top 5 here, which includes a lot of OHL players, 4 by my count, plus a new number 1 spoiler ? Yes, we'll get to that here in just 1 second. All right, before we finish up, of course want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There's no off season where we bring you the daily league-wide stories that matter the most with local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, number 5, and a guy who, for some reason, every time there's a potential trade, it feels like Sharks fans are throwing him in trade offers. Don't do it. He's too good. Quintin Musty, who had a very weird year last year with Sudbury, right? Where played 33 games, had 30 goals with 29 assists. The production was easily there with them, but unfortunately, right, held out, wanted to get traded. It comes back, plays a handful of games, and then immediately breaks his hand and doesn't come back until January. Musty is going to be in the AHL this year and should have, by all accounts, would have probably better spent to play in the AHL last year if he could, but he, of course, could not. He's one of those guys where, if he was born a couple years later or if they had waited to sign his ELC, again, hindsight's 2020, where he would have benefited last season from either playing in the AHL or playing in the NCAA, either one. But still, Musty is, I think, a guy where I don't expect him to hit the ground running in the AHL, especially compared to the guy we're going to talk at number 4. But I have all the faith in Musty. The kid works hard. I think he's going to figure it out. He's just a player, right, who's always kind of been that bigger, faster, stronger player. And now he's going to have to get used to playing guys who are just as big, just as fast, and just as strong as him, and kind of, learn some of the little ins and outs of playing professional hockey here. But we saw some flashes from him at the end of the season last year as the Barracuda, trying to clinch a playoff berth. And then also, of course, some moments from him in the playoffs. But I think for Musty, this is I think we're gonna, by the end of the season, you're gonna have a nice reminder of why the Sharks are been so high on Quintin Musty. So yes, he's still has top 6 potential, still has a potential 30 goal type of guy in the NHL because of that shot and how smart he is. I don't see I get it. You have to give up something in these mock trades or whatever, but Musty's the guy I want to hang on to, man. He's really good. So number 4, another OHL guy, Igor Shirokov, of course, second round pick that the Sharks drafted last year in the 2024 draft. Played 23 games with the Saginaw Spirit, where he had 19 goals, 36 assists with 85 shots on goal. Also, just like Quintin Musty, got some games with the Barracuda at the end of the season. He's a guy who's, again, going to be in the AHL this year and is probably playing NHL game. Like between Musty and Chernyshov, Chernyshov is 100% playing NHL games before Musty because he's a guy who's played professional hockey over in the KHL. He's played bottom 6 minutes and been very productive with those minutes over there as well. And like he's a very versatile player who can kind of do whatever you want. But you saw him this year playing against children and just a man among boys in the OHL. And I think we're going to be continually looking back at going, wow, I can't believe the Sharks got Igor Shirokov in the second round for a guy who was kind of projected to be a top 20 pick in that year's draft. And Shirokov, I think, is going to have I think he's going to be, out of all the OHL guys kind of coming over, or all the guys, like the guys that we're kind of expecting to, start in the AHL between Musty, Halttunen, Lund, and Chernyshov. He's the one who I think gets off to the quickest start because of his background. So I would like, everybody's race is a different race, etc. But don't be surprised if he just hits the ground running in the AHL just because of his background and what he's done and played already. And yeah, I think he's one of those guys, again, that versatility of if you need him to play third line minutes, which I don't, that would be amazing if Shirokhov's on your third line. Like your top six is insanely stacked. He can do that. If you need him to play in the top, like he's so smart, and we've already seen the chemistry he has with Misa. I think he's going to fit in exact whatever you need Shirokov to do. The kid's going to figure it out. So, getting to our top three here. So, a guy who I don't expect won't be on the list next year. And that's Yaroslav Askarov. So Askarov played 13 games last year in the NHL, 310 goals against average, 896 save percentage, 37 goals allowed on a 38.7 expected goals allowed. So had a positive goals saved above expected last year. I know we just kind of did the whole thing last week on Askarov, and why I think he's going to be a big difference maker for San Jose this year, and why I think his play is going to be the big reason why we see the Sharks start to build this year, because he posted pretty solid numbers on a really bad team last year, and we think the defense is going to improve, and we think the forwards are going to be better just through the natural growth. And I think Askarov is going to be a big reason for why a lot of those 1-goal losses start to turn into 1-goal wins this season. So he's like, I think Askarov has all the makings to be a top 10 goalie in the league, and I think he is a goalie you can easily foresee kind of being the driving force behind a cup run. Like I have all the faith in the world in Askarov, and I think he's that special of a player. So yeah, he's gonna be good, kids. Gonna be good. All right, last two guys here. Sam Dickinson, of course, at number 2. He was my number 1 guy before the draft. Had an absolute ridiculous season with London. Played 55 games, 29 goals, 62 assists with 245 shots on goal. Then was an absolute monster in the playoffs, where he was playing like 30, 35 minutes a night for London as they just went on a tear in the playoffs and took down everybody. And was playing like massive minutes, and I think he's in the NHL this year. And I think not only is he in the NHL this year, I think he's in the NHL the entire season. Yeah, he's really good, guys. Like the things he has to work on, which is just kind of reacting to the speed of the game and making decisions faster. The only way he's going to get better at it is by playing NHL games. Like, he's got nothing left to prove in the OHL, and sending him back to the OHL would be an absolute waste of his time. And I'm more worried that he would develop bad habits actually going back to the OHL than if he would by kind of getting his butt kicked in the NHL for a season. And like, as a 19-year-old defenseman in the NHL, he's going to get his butt kicked, but that's okay. I think the kid's he's smart enough. He's got a good enough attitude. Like, his attitude's amazing. Like, I think he is going to be able to take it in stride. And I think the Sharks have enough veteran defensive players around him. And I think Askarov, too, kind of bailing him out. that if he does struggle, I don't think it's going to be like a one of those things that just wrecks his confidence. So he's all the confidence in the world. I think super highly of this kid and where he's going. And yeah, Dickinson's going to be really good, man. So, and finally, to no one's surprise, Michael Misa, the second overall pick in this year's draft, 6'1", 182 pounds center. He played 65 games with Saginaw, where he had 62 goals. That right there, like almost a goal a game. It's still, I know the stat. I like know the stat, and it still like makes me chuckle every time. I think I read he had a total of 5 games this last season where he didn't put a point up. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Your future 2C right there, like there's a really good chance that he might actually be just the best player in the draft, let alone the best forward in the draft. And yeah, our good friend Tony Ferrari just wrote about how the Sharks are going to have the best 1-2 center combo between Celebrini and Misa. And then cool, you have Will Smith who can play wing for you now. And if one of those guys gets hurt, you can just slide Will Smith to go play center over if one of those guys is out for any extended period of time. So an embarrassment of riches from the San Jose Sharks, especially when it comes to the forward group. So yeah, man. I still think Misa plays in the NHL this year. We'll see. Maybe he's got it's college thing lined up here, but I mean, we saw it work with Will Smith last year. I think Misa's a better prospect than Will Smith, and I don't think that's like that much of a hot take. And even like Misa now compared to Will Smith after a season at Boston College, I think Misa's better than what Will Smith was at this time last year. I think he's a more well-rounded player. And yeah, I think if you got through the season with Will Smith like that, I think you can do the exact same thing with Misa. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a really fun season with two, or I guess we're gonna have 4 guys under the age of 20 potentially on the team. So 20 or under between Dickinson, Misa, Celebrini, and Smith, all 20 and under. That's a really fun team. So that's gonna be it for me today. Yeah. So Misa, best prospect in the Sharks prospect pool, may only be on the list once because he might play his 50 games and then be off the list for next year. So, but anyway, that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back probably tomorrow. Tomorrow, Wednesday night, where we'll have a really fun guest. Someone, again, you've seen on your TVA a lot as a Sharks fan. So make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Until tomorrow, bye, friends.